Good
Can't see you.
morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the next Industry 5.0 Wasteless World Talks, where we write towards wasteless world on the back of a language, taking one word of English vocabulary and talking about it for about 45 minutes. Today's term is water. And I will start with you, Bill, having you on the top of my screen. When you heard a minute ago the term water, what came to your mind first?
We had just been talking about being out with my grandchildren on the water, walking out to Charles Island off the coast of Connecticut here. And so, of course, the expanse of water that I experienced yesterday came directly to mind. However, I would like to show you something that I brought with me for my car Zoom today. Can you see that? That is coconut water, which is my snack today. And those are the two things that came to mind.
All right. Thanks a lot. Kevin, you are the next one today. So what first came to your mind when you heard the term water?
Rain. The miracle of rain. Imagine that the planet we live on has a system where it takes seawater, purifies it, and then drops it on us so we can use it for everything we need. Just fantastic.
Great. Absolutely.
This is really fascinating, and all the time it's not just the cleaning, it's even the freezing and so on. But Mark, what about you and water?
Well, having just stepped out of the shower, it's something that I'm very much aware of. And having here a glass of water to drink, which I will do, goodness, we depend on it. I'm looking at a garden. And of course, living here in the UK, we enjoy so much rain. Or, as my friends in Ireland like to refer to it, a soft day. And I love the concept of soft days, but also the power of water. The way in which water makes a way through rock. It's extraordinary, the power of water, but we think of it as just something that we drink, we sprinkle, we wash with, and yet it is so powerful.
Do you have any favorite form of water? For me, for example, it was snow. And still today, the fresh snow, it's one of the most beautiful forms of water. What about you?
I think about the ice cube that I put in my drink.
I think we've lost Bill.
Okay, what about you, Mark or Kevin?
I love dew in the morning. I love being able to go out and walk when there's been dew and just that aroma that you feel, and it's just wonderful. Yeah, I'll go for dew.
And you, Mark? Oh, sorry. You, Kevin?
I like the sea. I've always lived on the coast, and so I think that the sea is so amazing. You know, every time you look at the sea, the light is constantly changing. It's always moving. It's always different. So no matter what it's moved, I think the sea is really amazing.
You're right. You're right, Kevin. It really is hypnotic because the light on it, the constant movement, the reflections, it's always alive. Never ending. Yes, I'm absolutely with you.
And being alive, do you speak with water? Or can you listen to water? Talk?
Absolutely.
Oh, the water is so powerful. As Mark said, for me, I will never forget uh, the time when I was going through very hard times. It was my divorce. I lived. The condominium is on the water, as I said, on Long Island Sound. I would go down to the bottom of the stairs, especially when the water was very loud and a lot of wind and the waves were crashing. And I would cry. I would scream at the injustice, at the terrible, and and the water would scream back at me. And then the water laughed at me and said, "You think this is the worst I've seen?" And that made me laugh. That made me laugh, and that helped me to heal. So I think that the water is very powerful in many different ways.
It was said that water which we have on the planet surface is in the same quantity from the beginning generally. That it changed just the location and the form. And I just wonder, isn't water an living entity?
Yes, I think so. Certainly, as much as the trees or the fields, and I think that it has intelligence.
Okay, I struggle with that one, Michael. I struggle with that because the risk is that we're putting human characteristics on an inanimate object, or on something which is, yes, it's moving, yes, it goes through the cycles that Kevin was saying earlier, but somehow I associate living with something that is far more sentient. Mm-hmm.
And I think also,
And you,
I think water is a sign of life rather than life itself. You think we're made up of 90% water in our bodies. And if you look at our planet, it's blue and it's living. If you look at Mars, it's lost its water and is barren and dead.
Do you think you have heard that water is the next generally a risky topic on the planet because there should be soon wars on water or for water because it looks like there is not enough. It's not true, but it is so. And many specialists say that soon the wars for water will begin. And the question is, what can we do about it? What can we do about the water? You know, currently in my country, we have drinking water usually in the taps. We even splash the toilets with drinking water here. We even clean the streets with drinking water because of some old rules and regulations. And still, most of the people buy bottled water and do not drink the water out of the tap. And my question is whether we are able to manage something like water properly. Can we prevent the wasting with water?
Pose a lot of questions there, Michael. One thing that sadly, battles over water have existed for centuries, and we have seen it. Whether it's in America, if you look in California, you look all over the world. It's not just America. We've had battles, and sadly, we've had wars over water for at least the last 20 years. but we don't talk about them. It seems extraordinary that when we're facing these shortages, we're still looking at the need for vast amounts of water for cooling systems for data centers. And I've got a pet theory, okay? I've got a pet theory on how we could address all of this. So the people that are pumping all of the money into the current IPOs, who have been investing in AI, are basically partaking in a Ponzi scheme, okay? It's all completely false narrative, but everyone has bought into the story. So this is my pet theory. I think that the four of us should get together, start a Delaware corporation, and start offering dried water. And it's great because you just put it into packets, and all you have to do is mix it with water, and you've got water. And I think that the people investing in AI data centers would buy into this, and we could make a fortune with which we could find other ways of more effective irrigation.
Yeah.
I really love it. You know,
The idea.
I tested a few years ago. It was a really hot summer, and I tested how long an ice cube will irrigate a small plant comparing to a standard water. And I was fascinated that it took really, I don't know, 10 times longer was the plant irrigated. And then I read about a Czech startup, which is quite famous, and they started to produce washing liquid in a form of powder, in a pressed into form of sheet of paper. So they did very similar to what you said, just press it, and you just need to add it to the water.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to let the four of you into the real secret behind this plan, okay? So we've already identified the customers for it. We recognize the worldwide need for it, but there's one attribute to the design of this product, which I've not mentioned. The powder is transparent. You can't see it.
So you cannot prove that it is not there.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think we need to be putting this in bottles that can easily be recycled, reused. We need to find a system for collecting them. We'll have deposit bottles, okay? So none of this single-use plastic. We will go out and, I can see the whole thing working. Michael, we get onto it. We need your expertise.
Unfortunately, my camera is not working. If it will be working, I will show you already the packaging, which is already in here. So, but the camera is not working. I just have to mention that you can see that my name changed on the Zoom call. You know why? Because since yesterday, I dropped the surname Rada and I'm Michael Squared. And this is why it is there. It's official already. And it will remain there forever, I hope. But I have to change it properly. Right now, it's just temporary. But coming back to the water, I like the idea. And it is quite interesting that I don't know whether you know the process of lyophilization, it's called. It's generally cold drying technology. You for sure have seen dried fruits, which are really completely dry. It's not just dried by heat. It's very light, and you take the water by sublimation during a freezing process. I learned about this after the floods in Czech Republic, 100 years floods, when this technology is used, for example, to produce from milk milk powder, or if you dry books, for example, you can use this technology to dry the books without any damage when they are damaged by water before. But it's quite interesting because you take the water out, then you get a product which is very light, and you just put it in your mouth when it is fruit, dried fruit, and it tastes almost real. You just need to add the water in your mouth.
Yeah.
Or your, I don't know how it's called, the water in your mouth.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting.
You do realize, of course, that we could have subvariants of our core product. I mean, you could have heavy water, which is just a bigger bottle, okay? I mean, there's so many permutations. It's really exciting.
It can all be ecological, of course.
Totally, totally. That goes without saying. Oh dear. There's also we have this problem, just as you were saying, Michael. We have the problem with um, our water systems over here, the availability of clean water, the damage that's been done to rivers in the name of profiteering, is absolutely scandalous. What's been going on over here. But when you think of pure, clean water, it makes me salivate just thinking of it. I mean, it just is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And of course, I didn't realize that we were going to get into salt water, which Kevin brought in. And then, you think of Coleridge's thing, water everywhere, but nor a drop to drink. And, you could have abundance of something, but just because there's abundance doesn't mean it can all be used. It's just like, it's like communications. We've got so many ways to communicate with each other. Here we've got this wonderful example going on right now. And yet, isn't it incredible? People actually are not communicating with each other. And yet we've got this abundance of ways of doing it. And it seems crazy, really, really. Enough of that.
Yeah, there's no need to communicate anymore. You can just have your AI bot do the communicating for you. Write a letter to my mother.
Yes.
There. I've stayed in touch with her. Check that box.
Yeah. It's when your mother's bot responds.
Oh, but it's not that crazy, is it?
No. It's I was talking to someone earlier this morning, and he was saying, these chatbots are great because, with mails, you can get them to write all your mails. And it was just this point. What is the point? He was dealing with a German lawyer, and he found it very helpful on dealing with the lawyer. Okay, that I understand. But if you are just tired of receiving all of these emails and other messages, and you're using a chatbot to actually respond, the other person is almost certainly using a chatbot already to flood you with all these messages. So suddenly you're living in a parallel universe of chatbots talking to each other. And there we are sitting back, observing all this nonsense that's going on. It's hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious. It's absolutely ridiculous.
But what you're saying is a parallel to the conversation on water.
Yeah.
I was reading this thing about, most of the water we use, we can recycle. Or throughout history, we've managed to recycle it. But these data centers, a lot of the water that is used cannot be cleaned, and it isn't fit for human consumption. And you could see with Fukushima, where they had this huge buildup of contaminated water, that they just pumped it into the sea because storing water is expensive and takes up huge amounts of space. I just wonder what's going to happen, firstly, with all the water that they're polluting that can't be cleaned. And secondly, how are they going to replace the water that they have ruined?
Kevin, I had not heard that. Why can it not be cleaned?
It's something to do with the chemicals they put into it, which can't be taken out again. So it's permanently changed the water structure, and it's not fit for human consumption.
Wow. Okay.
I have read that the astronauts on the space station, they repurposed, I think, 98% of the water, which is fascinating number generally. So if they can do it, why the technology is not available on the planet?
Yeah.
Well, 98% is scary because that means that of all the water that I use today, 2% cannot be used. And that plus tomorrow, plus the next day, pretty soon I'm up to fairly significant numbers that cannot be used. So what do they do? Do they just jettison that other 2%?
I'm not sure. They spoke about the cleaning of the urine and so on, that they can make the drinkable water. I think it's the, I will
Right.
call evaporation in space, but I'm not sure about it. I'm not an expert. They said they would like to reach 100%, but still something is missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I know that if you go to London and you drink the water, it has been drunk on average 7 times before.
There was a few years ago, I think it was in Belgium, they tried to install a machine to turn the urine of the beer drinkers back to beer. It seems to be a very interesting idea at the beginning, but for some reason, it was not success at the end. So, but they turn it into a drinkable product. But the story behind was the reason why they failed, I think.
I thought they were successful. I thought they called it Heineken.
Uh,
Sorry, that's awful. I'm in a terrible frame of mind at the moment. It's awful.
Generally, having the Pilsner Brewery here next to me, I was surprised that there, a few years ago, they need 10 to 12 liters of water to make 1 liter of beer. I'm not sure how it is with wine. Maybe, Mark, you can help. But it was a lot of water for 1 liter of beer.
So I honestly don't know.
Because it was calculated with irrigation of the
Yes.
hose and everything. So all the chain, and it was 10 to 12, and I think they reduced it in Japan to 3 to 4. I think so, but
right.
not sure.
We were looking at the amount of water that is required for crops, and we did the life cycle costing on how much water does it take to produce one hamburger. And so then you have to see how much water goes into raising the cow, making the bun, making the cat, and so on. And the number is astounding. The number is 800 and 1,000 gallons for one hamburger.
Wow.
And then they did it again for an egg, and it is between 50 and 52 gallons of water for one egg. So we are um, very wasteful. Humans are very wasteful, which you already know. And then they compared the amount of water that is required for a similar amount of plant-based eggs, and the plant-based food is between 90 and 95% less water than the old-fashioned way. So I found that interesting.
A few years ago, I dealt with Epson, this producer of printers and copy machines and so on. They develop a machine which you can put in an office, and you generally make from old paper new one. It's all the process which runs in a factory runs in this one machine. And one of the topic why it was so interesting, it was not a cheap machine, or it is not. It is still it's being sold. Was that it reduced 98% of the water during the paper production, and that was very fascinating number for me, because I know how much pollution and how much water get polluted during paper production, but still it was not the water which was the component for success, but the fact that all the logistics costs around it generally have not been there. You just put it in one office and you pick the paper on the other side of the office. So simple it was. But very interesting. So I do believe there are technologies which improve significantly, but they are very expensive. And I think the wasting volume is related to the fact that water is free, or at least
Yes.
nature offer it for free. And it looks like you mentioned it, I think, Bill, or it was Mark at the beginning, that if you look from the space, the planet look blue. So it looks like we have enough. And I think there is the connection.
Yes.
It's very interesting to look at the economics of water. I don't know if you've noticed this, but water is perceived by many as free, unless, of course, you buy a single-use plastic bottle of water, which people do, and they pay an enormous amount for it. But so that's surprise number one. But surprise number two is if you go to an airport, when you walk through security, the price of that bottle of water rockets. Okay? And it is amazing to see people still buying those bottles of water, and the way that we don't have an outcry that you should be simply allowed to refill your own bottle with water from taps inside the airport. It's just price gouging. So it really is crazy the way that water is priced and the way it is perceived. The other thing is that in looking at technology that can recycle, that can improve processes, actually we shouldn't be looking at the end of the cycle. We should be looking at the beginning, just as Bill said earlier. When you're looking at the amount of water that's required to make one hamburger, why is it that we're not simply focusing on actively encouraging more consumption of plants rather than meat, and wasting money trying to find ways of changing or rectifying, or rather dealing with the astonishing wastage that comes about? And you think, we know it. These figures have been known for some time, but we carry on. I mean, Michael, you used the term giants. We carry on just allowing people and organizations to cause us to want to eat more burgers, more fast food, more chicken, all of these things. And we go along with it because we see sexy commercials. Everyone's jumping up and down. And rather than anyone having a conscience. I know that in Sweden, one of the large burger chains, introduced a system where they put the carbon footprint of everything that they had on the menu. And it was extraordinary how people, it was brought, up front, this is what impact you're having. And it did change ordering patterns. Okay. But instead, we keep going on looking for answers to everything. People want a pill to make them lose weight rather than becoming fitter by doing exercise or changing diets. We want that nice, quick, simple, convenient thing. It's crazy.
To one of the comments that you made earlier, this is a fascinating conversation, and I think that the first step in anything like conserving water has to be the awareness that in fact it's not free and it does cost and so on. But Mark, you mentioned why have we let this happen, and I think that there are being raised. Maybe you would argue not fast enough. I went to I was at a hotel, a fancy hotel, and they had a place where you could fill up your water bottle. I'm sure you've all seen that. It also had a counter on it. And when I filled up my water bottle, it said it had already filled up 60,000 water bottles before me. And I thought, that's wonderful. That sounds like it's almost part of the solution, is get everybody to refill 60,000 times.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and also to change perception of what you're buying. I read once that Ferrari said, when you buy a Ferrari, you're buying an engine, you get the rest of the car for free. And you think about when you buy a bottle of water, you're buying the bottle and you're getting the water for free.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes, and in fact, the same thing with soda. I think the petroleum people who are selling the product to make all these bottles that run around convincing everybody, even even the laundry detergent people, they got them a couple of decades ago to make all the soap, put all the soap in these great big bottles that nobody can. Uh, and they did such a good job. They did such a good job convincing the world that everything of value comes in a bottle.
I had a very special use case in the past where one of my clients looked for a special glass bottle. He would like for his drinks a special glass bottle. And I make a calculation once for Coca-Cola. How will change the logistic cost when they change from around whatever can to square? And it was billions of dollars. The Coca-Cola didn't listen, but this guy did, and he started to order square bottles. And it was quite interesting that he has not a very expensive product, but because the bottle was squared, he generally beat the market because the people think or feel that it is something of higher value. It was not so easy to make the bottle, but when it was done, it was quite interesting result. And I would like to come back to the topic when you says, I don't know who of you says, water is very similar to data and to data centers and so on, because we speak here about flow, we speak here about wasting a lot of, and that's exactly the case with water. Because all of you remember when we pay for 1 kilobyte for every byte of data at the beginning.
Yeah.
It was very expensive. And today it seems almost to be free. You just connect to Wi-Fi and you are online. So we are close to this moment of looking at data at something which is free, and it is already now wasted in such a volumes that it's unbelievable. The question whether we can connect these two and prevent both to happen, but I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, when data storage, when memory first, but data storage gets cheaper and cheaper, then why take one photograph? Take 20, keep them all, and people store loads and loads and loads of stuff, either on their phones, on their computers, or in the cloud. And of course, the cloud simply means someone else's computer. There's nothing romantic to it. But because it's seen as so cheap, and you can, just pay, I don't know, $3 a month, and you seem to have endless storage. When it comes around to you've now used up that storage, so now you've got to pay $15 a month, very few people are prepared to go through and sort through all their data. They just buy it. And little things like this, the whole concept of a subscription service is that you're paying for something you don't need. And we somehow, bizarrely, I won't say we don't get it, because most people do when it's logically put to them. But there are so many folks at play who are making a profit out of this era that they're not going to change anything. I'll happily take if you don't want to pay $15 a month, that's fine. You can't store any more here, or we're going to close your account, or you can't get access to it. And to go back in the wonderful word of Cory Doctorow, pure enshittification. Yeah, it's crazy.
We have 2 minutes left, less than 2 minutes left, and I think it was very interesting discussion. Talking about water without swim, without skiing, without touching the surface of water. Water is a great mirror. Unless the wind blow in and the image is being somehow destroyed. The interesting part about water is that it does not care whether you throw inside a Rubik cube or a ball. The circles will be the result. And so the shape does not matter. Just on the bottom, maybe you will find a difference, but not on the surface. So it's 1 minute left. I would like to thank you for a great discussion. Have a nice time. Free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, be human, and be the water everybody enjoy. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.